Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Walk. I am your host Joshua Ingram. It is Tuesday, January 5th, year of our Lord 2021. And this is, since it's a new year, I'm going to start a new season, so to speak. I'm going to call this Season 2, so this will be Episode 1 of Season 2. And we're just coming off the holidays here, and I guess that's the main thing that's on my heart is I really had a miserable holiday season, and it was just a depressing time. Um, Spent a lot of it alone, and I guess in my adult life, what I've done, because I have divorced parents, so as an adult, I've tried to split my time between them. And usually I'll do Thanksgiving with my dad and his wife, and that side of the family, and then I'll do Christmas with my mom and her husband and that side of the family. And because of the current situation in the world, I have relatives that are fearful of the COVID disease, and so they chose not to do holiday get-togethers. And so it ended up just being really depressing because like I say, I just ended up spending that alone. Usually, we do the big meal on Thanksgiving, everybody's together, we play games, we just, we have fun. And then same thing at my mom's, we all get together Christmas morning, we open gifts, we share time, we have breakfast together, and I'm sure similar to what other people do with their families, but it just didn't happen this year. And so just ended up, giving some gifts to my parents in one-on-one situations, and then visiting my brother and his wife in a one-on-one situation. And because it was just so different, it didn't really feel festive. It didn't feel um, like a family. It just felt like we were all just kind of separated, and that just had me really depressed. And then usually I would make up for that by getting together with the fellow saints, my Christian family. But on Christmas Day, pretty much, I did get some time to spend with a few of the brothers. I took my recently married brother and his sister or his wife, my sister, uh, to the airport on Christmas Day. They were going off for their honeymoon, and one of my other brothers rode with me there, so I got to spend a little bit of time in some fellowship. Um, but then Christmas Day was spent alone, and um, like I mentioned, the Thanksgiving, you know, ate a meal alone, and so it was just really depressing. And to add to that, I have found that when I am discontent, however that may present itself, whether that's depression, boredom, anger, whatever the case is, it is a lot easier to give in to the sinful desires of the flesh. And so I think the reason being is that when you're feeling these different emotions, when you're in that down kind of state, the flesh will crave anything to get any sort of pleasure to get itself out of that state. And, we all have different avenues that our flesh has discovered bring that pleasure, whatever it is. And a lot of times for me, it's just entertainment. I'll just turn the TV on and zone out and just kind of waste time that way. That's usually the cure for boredom, the cure for depression, and whatever. But because I was in such a depressed kind of mind, I found the struggle with sin grew, and I had been coming off a period of time where I felt like I was doing really good, where I was just just having a really good time with the Lord, walking in a refreshed mindset. I think, if I go back as far as like maybe July, um, well, maybe not July. Let's say like it was probably like September. So September through Thanksgiving, I really had a period of refreshing where I just felt close to the Lord. I felt reinvigorated and determined to stay my mind on spiritual things and to just to grow with the Lord, to draw near to Him. And so I'm not excusing sin, but this depression that kind of set in from Thanksgiving on and really hit home on Christmas. Um, and I'm not one that's prone to depression, or at least I don't give it that name. I'm a pretty even keel kind of guy. My emotional state of mind is usually pretty level. Um, I don't have really highs and lows, and when I do, they're instant. It's I'll have a brief explosion of anger or depression, and then it's over pretty quick as well. And I'm talking like minutes. My emotional highs and lows last minutes, and then I come back to that plateaued level, that even keel level. And there's good and bad in that, because I view other people and I see that they'll go into extended periods of depression or anxiety, and that seems just dreadful to me. So I'm glad that I don't have that. On the other hand, because my emotional outbursts are so instantaneous, they're often extreme, but like I say, they're really quick lived. And so, like, I know, for instance, if I get really angry at something, if I will step aside from whatever's making me angry and just get alone with the Lord, or just meditate on righteousness and holiness, I'll calm down really quick. And like I say, it's just minutes. If I can just get away from the situation and take some deep breaths, I calm down really quick. Depression seems to be a little bit different. It's I'm not a depressed person, so those bouts don't last long, but they linger a little bit longer than anger. And I suppose because they're not as extreme as anger, you just kind of, it's kind of a downward slope, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in this valley. And but again, it usually only lasts for a little bit for me, but it seemed to extend throughout Christmas Day, especially Christmas Day, and maybe like the 26th as well. Just feeling down and lonely, really, and bored. And so because I was in that state, the flesh starts craving an outlet. And whereas as a born again Christian, the solution is to find our joy in the Lord. We ought to be turning to Him in prayer, and just going before His face, and just meditating on His word, and really the key is to be thankful. We're supposed to put on the garments of praise for the spirit of heaviness. And that's a solution that's known, but often the flesh resists that solution. Like if we'll turn to thankfulness and gratefulness, and find our joy in the Lord, that will overcome those feelings of despondency or anger or boredom or whatever. But it seems like there's a spiritual laziness in myself, and in others that I know as well, just from observation, that when we're in a state like that, when we're emotionally down, we know as Christians that we can go to the Lord in prayer and seek His face, and find our solace in Him. But it seems like we're too lazy to do that, because that takes work, that takes effort. Whereas the flesh knows that there's instant gratification all around us in different forms of entertainment, or just the worldly desires, the worldly things that bring that instant satisfaction. So rather than taking the time to go into our prayer closet, we'll turn on the TV, or we'll scroll on the phone, or we'll look at YouTube videos, or whatever it is that your outlet is. And the sad thing is, those things don't really bring any fulfillment. they give you this instant sense of satisfaction, but then it fades very quickly, and you find yourself back in that same emotional state that you were previously. Whereas if we would go to the Lord and we would wait on the Lord to fulfill us and satisfy us, that is a sustaining contentment that will fulfill us internally and sustain us. But we seem to be too lazy to seek that out. And that was the case for me, on like I say, I had been doing really good up until this point spiritually, at least the way I view it. I just felt closer to the Lord the last few months, and then on Christmas Day and the day after, I just kind of fell apart, and fell apart spiritually. I'm speaking. I just kind of I turned to the flesh rather than the things of the spirit, and then that just adds to your depression, because then you feel guilt and you feel shame and you feel defeated almost. It's like, why did I go back to this path again? I know this isn't the right path. Why do I continually go there? So it just added to the depression and the misery. I just call it a miserable holiday. It just ended up just being really, really terrible. I despise the 2020 holiday season. It was just the worst that I've had, I think, in my life. Like I say, just feeling separate and distant from my family, not having the chance to get together, just not really feeling festive and at all, not feeling connected at all. And then it changed here recently because on New Year's Day, me and my small group are the saints that I gather with on a regular basis. We did our Christmas. We do a Secret Santa every year, and so that was really joyous. We all got together and had some fun. So that kind of turned things around. But and really for me, the part that makes it so bad is the fact that in that depressive state, in that lonely state on Christmas Day and the day after, I gave in to the flesh, and that caused me to fall down even further. And I just hated that state. And then it kind of like I found that sin snowballs. Like once you take that step into the flesh, it seems so easy to take the next step because you're like, well, I'm already here. I might as well, just keep going. And it's really it's an insane path because it leads to nothing good. But again, because there's instant gratification in the things of the flesh, you just turn to that all the time. So it ended up just being a really bad holiday season for me. And I guess the lesson I take out of it is a further recognition of when you're in those kind of emotional states, it does no good to turn to the instant gratification of the flesh. That's just going to bring you down further. The solution is in the Lord. The solution is in the presence of God. The solution is to turn to Him for our joy. And however that starts, I think for me the easiest way is to put on some worship tunes and just to bring yourself into a state of mind where you want to pray and seek His face. And if you'll follow that path, there's satisfaction and joy. And so I even prior to the worship music, I guess it's a heart of thankfulness, and that's why the scriptures tell us over and over again to be thankful, and grateful, and to just to remember the goodness of the Lord, because when you're depressed or angry or bored, it shows those are all just forms of discontent, and it shows a lack of satisfaction. You're craving something and not getting it. And so it shows that you're setting your heart on wrong things. You're setting your desire on external things. And because those things aren't being fulfilled, whatever that is, in this case, it was tradition, family gatherings, the festive attitude of the season or whatever. And because that was lacking, that brought me into this mindset, this lonely mindset. So the idea there is I'm setting my heart on the wrong things. I'm setting my heart on these externals. And then when those aren't fulfilled, we're left discontent. Whereas if we'll set our heart on the Lord, if He's our goal in all things, and we're thankful and grateful for everything He provides and everything He's done for us, and we'll set our heart on Him and set our affections on Him, we'll never be dissatisfied because we always have Him. If we seek His face, we will have it. If we seek His presence, we will have it. And so we can always be in a state of satisfaction. It's just, we're so fallen, we have a tendency to set our affections on other things, and then those aren't fulfilled, and then we're dissatisfied and discontent, and then we become angry or depressed or bored or lonely, and then the flesh, that's where the flesh finds its strength. When we're in those mindsets, the flesh becomes so strong. The overpowering cravings and urges of the flesh are at their strongest when we're dissatisfied, when we're discontent. Whereas if we're finding our joy in the Lord and we're thankful and grateful, the flesh really has no power. The flesh is weak then, and that's that whole walk after the Spirit thing. But so yeah, it just wasn't a good holiday season for me. Just ended up being a really depressing, lonely time. But in all things, the Lord is working good. So I'm glad that the Lord has, even as I'm speaking here, just kind of opening my eyes to some things, and just gleaning some spiritual insights that hopefully my heart will apply in the future, so that I can avoid situations like this in the future. But anyways, that was kind of my first thought here, the most pressing issue that's been on my heart. Another thing that I want to talk about is, and I don't really know how to address this, it was just kind of one of these thoughts that occurred to me just momentarily. It was just something I thought about for a brief few minutes, but I thought there was something good in the thought, and I thought that it was worthwhile and something to cling to. And I don't really know how to approach it or to phrase it properly here. The idea was, let's say in your relationships, somebody doesn't meet the standards that you have. Somebody doesn't meet your expectations. They're not doing what you expect them to do. How does love respond to that? Because usually our natural disposition, our selfish, sinful, prideful disposition, when somebody doesn't meet your expectations, is to respond in kind. It's to respond with some sort of bitterness, whether that's backbiting or ignoring or letting the person know how disappointed you are in them, or getting angry at them. It shows itself in some sort of sinful way. You're dissatisfied with what they're doing. They're not meeting your expectations, and you want them to know that, because you feel slighted, and you want retribution. You want them to understand how they've wronged you, and so you respond in some sort of way to make sure that they know, and in the hopes that your attitude will bring correction to them, or will bring repentance and sorrow to them, so that they'll come to you and offer an apology or whatever. And really, that's the wrong way. And so I'm trying to be delicate about, because I don't want to give away like the scenario that brought this thought about. So I'm trying to phrase this in a way that doesn't do that, and it's making it kind of hard to talk about. But I was thinking, like, how does the Lord respond to our disobedience? Because there's so many times in life where we don't do what God wants us to do. We disobey his commandments. We disobey his directives. And he never responds in the way we would respond. He's always loving. There's always kindness. Yes, there's repercussions for our choices, but God never deals with his children in anger. There's always gentleness and kindness and love and grace and mercy. He never holds things against us. And even like to go deeper on this, when the Lord has a design and a purpose and a plan and a direction for your life, and you don't like that plan, you don't like that direction, um, and you kick against the pricks, so to speak. You go against the grain. You complain, you rebel against what the Lord is designing for your life, the plot, the plan that He has for you. You're rebelling somehow against that. How does the Lord respond to that? And again, it's kindness and love and gentleness. He doesn't alter his plan. He doesn't alter his path. He doesn't succumb to our will. He doesn't, we throw a fit. He doesn't say, oh, you think about like a parent with a child. The child throws a fit because you won't give them a piece of candy. They kick and they scream and they whine. And so a parent might finally say, whatever, just have the candy. The Lord doesn't do that with us. He doesn't change. He knows what's good. He knows what's best. So if he's designed a path for us, if he's designed a purpose for us and we don't like it, and we rebel and we kick and we scream, he doesn't alter it, but he also doesn't get angry at us, and he doesn't fight back. He doesn't lash out at us. He just, in kindness and gentleness and love, assures us that he knows what he's doing, and continues to bring us down that path, even though we're kicking and screaming the whole way. But there's just a gentleness. There's a softness and a kindness in the Lord, in reaction to our disobedience, in reaction to our rebellion, in reaction to our anger. And so, like, how do we apply that in our lives and situations, in our relationships? If you have headship over somebody, if you have a leadership position, and you have a plan, a purpose, a design, a direction, and the people you're leading, the person you're leading doesn't like it, and so they respond in some sort of angry, bitter way, we can't lash back. We can't fight back. We can't backbite or get angry. We have to remain gentle. It doesn't mean we change. We don't, if we're sure that the direction we're planning, and again, I apologize for being vague about this. I'm trying to explain this, like I say, in a way that doesn't give away the situation I'm referring to. So it's making it really hard to talk about. And if it's confusing, I apologize. But in a position of leadership, if we have a design and a plan and a purpose, and we think it's the right thing to do, the good thing to do, we don't allow the anger or bitterness or reactions of others to deter us from our plan. But at the same time, we can't fight back. I hope that makes sense, because the idea is to be loving and kind and gentle in the face of rebellion and anger and bitterness. It's not returning evil for evil. It's returning kindness and gentleness and compassion and pity and soft, and just being soft and gentle and humble, because that's how the Lord reacts to us. So if you think about this in like a parent-child situation, or a I suppose like on some scale, a pastor and a church level, or a uh, a teacher-student level or a husband-wife level, where a husband is called to lead his wife. Um, if the person you're you have headship over, if the persons that you are called to lead are rejecting your leadership, rejecting your decisions, and getting angry and bitter, um, and lashing out at you, you can't respond in kind. You have to be gentle. You have to be kind. You have to be compassionate, no matter what. And I realize that can be hard because, like I say, when somebody acts that way towards you, the natural inclination is to get revenge in a sense, whether that's through ignoring them or uh, being bitter towards them or reacting in anger. We have this tendency to just to meet people with the same reaction that they're given to us, to fight fire with fire, so to speak. And that just creates more and more conflict. It creates um, so much hardship and contention and strife. And it's not how the Lord deals with us in our disobedience and our rebellion. He's so kind, he's so gentle, he's so merciful, he's so gracious and loving and peaceful. And that's how we're supposed to respond to emotional outbursts towards us as well. We're supposed to respond in kindness and gentleness. Um, I don't have none of that probably makes any sense, I bet. Just because, like I say, I'm trying to speak about something in a roundabout way, but um, I hope you could take something from that. The main thought that I had on it was how does God react to our disobedience? How does God react to our anger and our rebellion? And as his children, um, he doesn't relent, he doesn't give in to our demands, but he's also extremely gentle and kind and patient and long suffering. He always responds in love. He never responds in kind, like with an equal measure to what we're giving him. He doesn't yell at us because we're yelling at him. He doesn't fight back because we're fighting against him. That's just not the character of love. And we're supposed to reflect that in our relationships. And so we have to think about when presented with a scenario like that, if when somebody is angry or bitter or contentious towards you, you have to think, how does God respond to me when I act like this? And it's a kindness, it's a gentleness. So I don't know if any of that makes any sense, but hopefully you can glean something out of it. It's just a thought that I had thinking about a certain situation. Um, but anyways, I'm gonna be coming up on a break here, but I do want to touch on, I mentioned what a miserable holiday I had. One thing good that came out of it was it kind of set a determination in my heart to start fresh with the new year. And so I really wanted to get back on track with the Lord. I wanted to set aside the deeds of the flesh. Um, I wanted to put forth new effort to fight against my sin, to not give in to the cravings and the lusts of the flesh, but to fight. And so I've come into this new year with that mindset, and it's only by the grace of God that we can have any sort of victory. It's not by our willpower, our determination, or our plans or our schemes that we're going to get victory. It's only by His grace. But hopefully, he also determines the means by which He brings about that grace. So hopefully, this refreshed mindset um, will be the means by which the Lord graciously carries me into this new year, because I want to have a time. I want to, spend my time in spiritual things. I want to have more prayer life. I want to have more precious time with the Word. I want to be more humble and kind in my relationships. And we're gonna take a break here, so we'll continue this new year, new thought on the other side of the break. Just stick with me. All right, welcome back to the weekly walk. Your host Joshua Ingram. We've been talking about a determined mindset for the new year. Just coming out of a really miserable Christmas and miserable holiday season, really, since kind of Thanksgiving. Um, Not miserable in the sense that it was just a lonely, depressing holiday season. Not miserable. It was, good spiritual things seem to be coming out of it, so it's a good thing. But it did set in my heart a determination for this new year, where I think I've mentioned before on the podcast how organized and scheduled I am. Like, I'm a procrastinator. I just don't get things done spontaneously. I will sit and be idle and just waste time if I don't have a plan, if I don't have things organized. And so I'm very detailed in scheduling things, and I feel very satisfied and accomplished when I keep a schedule. I just feel like, um, successful when I stick to my schedule. And so I'm determined in this new year. I've got set aside time for study, and set aside time for ministry, and set aside time for prayer, and set aside time for reading. And I really just am determined to stick to this, because when I do, it's so refreshing. It's so good. I feel accomplished. I feel and it's not a legalistic, like I have to do these things. There is freedom in it for me, but for me personally, it's how I get things done. When I keep that schedule, I just feel like I'm walking in the Spirit, like I'm denying the flesh. I'm not wasting time doing worldly things. I'm focusing my mind and my heart on spiritual things. And so it's very good. And so, like I say, I'm just determined for this new year. And I suppose I am every new year, but it just feels refreshing this year. It feels um, uh, unique this year. It feels um, like I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but I feel a purpose in this. To just go into this new year with the mindset that I'm going to spend my time doing beneficial things. I'm going to spend my time doing heavenly minded things, keeping my mind focused on the Lord, denying the flesh, staying away from the things that draw me away from the Lord. And so it's kind of exciting for me. For instance, on Sunday, I just had a really good day in the Lord. I spent a lot of time just doing spiritual things, and it was refreshing. It felt good, and I want that every day. Like the more and more I grow in the Lord, the more and more, especially this last year, the more futile I see that the things of the flesh are. That there is no satisfaction in these things. There is, and for me, like I say, it's usually just entertainment. I just turn to entertainment to fill my time, and it's been so dissatisfying this last year. There's no satisfaction, and there's no joy in it. There's no comfort in these things. It just leaves me discontent and miserable. And so I'm seeing how empty everything is, and that's what Ecclesiastes teaches. Solomon did the same thing. He tried all these different things of the world and saw that they were all empty and futile and pointless. That there was no joy, there was no contentment in them. That the only thing that satisfies are the things of the Lord. The only thing that satisfies are to be in His presence, to feel close to the Lord, to walk with him, to draw near to him. In his presence is fullness of joy. And so for me, one of the biggest things I saw this year, and I think I'll lead into that. My last topic is just touching on some of the bigger lessons that I can remember learning throughout this year. But for me, one of the biggest things is seeing the distinction between the emptiness of the world and the satisfaction of the things of Christ, the things in God. I'm just very discontent with the things of the world. Whereas previously, I could find satisfaction in watching a football game. I could find satisfaction in watching a movie. I could find satisfaction in doing all these, time-wasting things. And now they feel empty. There's no joy in them. There's no happiness. There's no fulfillment in these things. They just bring me down. They feel like a complete waste of time. And so and that was another thing too. Like one of my the sister who drew my name for Secret Santa got me this really nice Charles Spurgeon study Bible. And during our Secret Santa celebration, I opened up that Bible, and the first thing I read was a commentary on, I think it was on 1 Corinthians 7:29, and it was about wasting time. There's no time to waste. And that just really stuck with me. It was kind of convicting. It was not really convicting, but motivating. Like, how much time do I waste in my life just doing worthless things, doing dissatisfying, unfulfilling things? And so that's really a lesson that I've been learning this year is there is no joy in things outside of the Lord. Real satisfaction, real contentment, real peace, real joy comes from him. And in whatever way that is, there's various different means of grace, whether that's listening to good worship music or using your gifts and talents to do some form of ministry, like a podcast, or for me personally, it's doing the podcast or doing these YouTube or Facebook live videos that I do, or going to him in prayer, or reading a good theological book written by an old saint from the past, or listening to good sermons, or studying the scriptures, or sitting in the morning with your cup of coffee and just meditating on a psalm, whatever it is. That's where real satisfaction is. That's where the real joy is. And so I want more of that and less of the world. I want, I want to come to the point where I want none of the world. And, all our satisfaction is in Christ. And whereas before I used to look at that as like exhausting. It was like, man, you're burning the candle at both ends. Then I'm just going full time. You're just doing all these ministry type things. And it just seemed like effort or work, and it seemed exhausting. And so I used to compute in my head, like, the Lord gets 75% of my life, and then I get 25% to relax and veg out on entertainment. And it's like, now I'm starting to see how empty that is, and like it's foolish. There is no time to waste, and it's really not effort or work to do these other things, because that's where the joy is. That's where the satisfaction is in being in the presence of the Lord and doing these things for the Lord. So another big lesson that's coming out of this year is, and I've mentioned before how critical I can be and how abrasive my demeanor, my attitude, and my language, and I'm a very, if you were to spend a lot of time with me, I'm very hard to I don't know what the word is. I can see how it would be hard to be friends with me. And it's kind of a unique situation. It's like the Lord, I believe it has given me a charisma and a sense of humor where I'm able to make friends really quickly. And I've noticed just over time and observing how people react around me, I observe that people desire to be with me. Like um, and I don't. That sounds egotistical or braggadocious, but it's not. I'm just trying to explain my personality. It's I can be fun to be around, and so people want to be around me. But if you're around me a lot after a long period of time, um, because of my critical nature, because of my abrasiveness, because of my authoritarian attitude, it eventually starts to wear on people. And so this has been a common observation that I've seen throughout my life, is that eventually people just get, worn out, and don't really want to be around me anymore. And so one big lesson I'm learning this year is I'm trying to humble myself um, to others, to accept them, to not be so critical, to not be so nitpicky, to not be so abrasive, to not be I don't know what the word is. It's I have this tendency, like, let's say, to give you an idea, let's say we come into a relationship with each other and we become really good friends. But I'm always bashing you because you like Star Wars, or I'm always bashing you because you like country music, and I'm just like, it's so nerdy, and I do it like, it's coarse jesting is what it is. I have a tendency to be a coarse jester, and that wears on people over time. At first, we laugh and it's sarcastic and we goof around with each other, but then over time it becomes so annoying because people, when you attack things that people like, they take it as a personal attack on them. And so I have a tendency to make people feel bad about themselves, because I'm so critical about their habits and their likes and their dislikes. And it's very rude and egocentric and arrogant, and um it's just not a good character quality to have. And I don't like being that way, and I can see the effect it has on others, and they don't like it. Over, like I say, it's a thing that develops over time. You might not necessarily pick up on it right away because it's done in such a humorous way, but over time it'll wear on you, and it makes people feel bad. And so I've really just tried to be more accepting of others, like, and to I have a hard time doing it because I'm a very I don't know what the word is. It's based in pride. It's based in ego, and it's not a good quality to have. So I'm trying to rid myself of it, and it really comes through humility. It comes of just loving people for who they are, loving uh, the distinctions and differences in people, like not letting that um, it shouldn't be an issue of what you like and don't like. That shouldn't be a thing, and I should be encouraging. We're supposed to weep with those that weep and rejoice with those that rejoice. And so if a person's rejoicing over something that they like, and I'm critical about it, that's sinful on my part. And so that's another big lesson that I've been learning this year. I'm still learning, is I'm just trying to humble myself, to just accept my brothers and sisters. Uh, there is no right or wrong when it comes to likes and dislikes. And so I need to be more accepting of that. And then finally, the other, I guess, the other biggest lesson that I'm learning this year is and this isn't something, it's something I intellectually acknowledge, but it's not something that's taken root in my heart yet, because I still see how I desire it. But um I realized that I was focused a lot this year on political things. I suppose a lot of people were. I mean, the state of our nation in 2020 was just chaotic. But I became, I was listening to political news more than I was sermons. And I found that I was getting so angry with the state of this nation. I was getting so upset with perceived injustices, and with the lies being promoted all over the place. I was getting so angry, so upset, that at times I had murder and rebellion and revolution in my heart. If I wasn't a Christian, I felt like, man, I would have joined a militia. I'd be storming Capitol buildings. I'm so angry about what's going on in this world. And so, like, that was disturbing to me, but I couldn't seem to get rid of it. And so here recently, I've turned off the news. I've just stopped listening to political podcasts. That's where I would get my news, is from political podcasts. I don't watch mainstream media, but I just kind of tuned that out here recently, and I'm not angry anymore. I'm not upset anymore. And so I've been, it's like, man, you put two and two together. Um, and there's a verse about that too, like, don't make friends with an angry man. And so if you're spending your time, which is in a sense fellowship, friendship, listening to angry political podcasts, that's going to make you angry. And it was for me. It was just, I mean, I went through a few months there where I was just furious. My blood was boiling. I was so upset that, you know, anybody, well, even my own family members that have a different ideology politically than me, I was getting furious at them. I was getting angry at them. And so, um, it's a hard lesson to learn. Like I say, I still haven't fully accepted it, because I desire to go listen to the new, these political podcasts. I desire to know what's going on in the world, and I desire um justice. I desire righteousness. I desire for the wicked to be put down, and for this nation to walk in righteousness and be prosperous. And but I realize, we're pilgrims and strangers and aliens in this world. And so I can really think of two people, one of my brothers that I fellowship with on a regular basis, and then a sister through social media, who were really influential in just reminding me, that we're aliens and strangers and pilgrims in this world. And I just kind of lost that focus. I used to tell my brothers all the time in regards to politics, let the dead bury the dead. Let the world deal with politics. It ain't none of our concern. We're just supposed to be Christians. We're just supposed to live out our faith. God is sovereign over the nations. He'll do what he wants with politics, because it's none of our concern. And then I got so wrapped up in it, because there's just so much evil going on. And this year in particular, it became so shocking. It became overwhelming. It got to the point where it was like every single thing that you hear on the TV is a lie. It's like, wow, man, this is insane. Everything is a lie, and it's affecting the world around us. We're watching people walk in these lies, and it's like, so I don't know. It's just one of these things where I got too wrapped up in it. I got too obsessed with it. I think it is good to be aware. It is good to expose the unfruitful works of darkness. It's good to desire righteousness and national prosperity. But really, we're pilgrims. This isn't our home. We're called to just seek the kingdom of God and let God worry about everything else. He's got this nation under control. So anyways, those are, I'm going to wrap up the podcast here. Those are some of the bigger lessons I've taken from this past year. And I guess that's what I got for you guys tonight. So, as always, I appreciate you listening. I love you, and we'll talk to you next time. Stay classy, Sam.